Hey everyone, welcome back to Robotics. I hope you guys are doing well. Today we have our 11th lecture on Jacobians. So Jacobians are all about velocity relationships, and here's another video that I think shows off velocity in robotics. Now this is a video of a warehouse with a fleet of robots that are moving around bins of packages. And velocity comes up in two different ways. First, I want to think about the velocity of an individual one of these agents to make sure it's going in the right direction at the right speed. But I also want to think about the velocity of the team to make sure that two of these guys don't run into each other and knock the packages all over the floor. So when we think about velocity, we often need to think about the Jacobian. And in today's lecture, I want to explain how you can derive the Jacobian for a serial robot arm. All right, so let's get started. Here I've got one of these serial robot arms. And in the last lecture, we talked a little bit about that joint velocity. Theta 1 dot, that's the velocity of my first joint, how fast it's spinning. Theta 2 dot, that's the velocity of my second joint, and so on. And what I can do is I can stack each of these individual joint velocities together to make a joint velocity vector, theta dot. And I'm just going to call that the joint velocity of my robot. Now this has n dimensions for the vector because my robot's got n different joints, so I'm just counting the velocity of each of those joints. The idea is that I can measure this theta dot. And what I want to do is I want to take this thing I can measure, the velocity of each of these individual joints, and I want to figure out how fast is my end effector moving and in what direction is that end effector moving. And really more formally, what I want to find is capital V that you see right here. That's the linear and angular velocity of the robot's end effector. And the Jacobian is what's going to enable me to do this mapping. It's going to multiply, I'm going to take the Jacobian, multiply it by this joint velocity, and I'm going to get out this twist V, which captures the end effector's linear and angular velocity. A couple of comments here. First, the Jacobian must be a 6 by n matrix where n is your number of joints. And that's because I want to make my dimensions match here. I know that this is going to be n by 1 vector and the twist will be a 6 by 1 with the angular and linear velocity. And second, the Jacobian will depend on theta because as my robot moves around, the values of that matrix will change. So that's what the Jacobian is. The question is, how do we find it? And in the last lecture, we made some progress towards finding this Jacobian. We used what we knew about velocity, motion, and forward kinematics to come up with an equation that works for a two-link robot arm. And that's what you see down here. Now this equation is pretty close to what we want to see. On the right side, I've got my joint velocity, great. In the middle, I've got something like a Jacobian matrix. The problem is what you see on this left side. Now this is a twist, which is good. The problem is that this is a spatial twist. And I want to explain why this is a problem by recapping what we know about spatial twists. And this harkens back to the velocity lecture, so you might want to watch that again if you haven't seen it before. The idea is that the spatial twist is defined as the angular velocity expressed in frame S, and then the linear velocity of a point at the origin of S expressed in frame S. This turns out to be a little bit unintuitive and a little bit cumbersome to work with, and I can show you why with an example. So here I'm looking at this object. I've got my robot arm, I've got this spatial frame S, and I've got this tennis ball that's spinning and moving along the table. So I can see that it's spinning around this axis, and from my perspective, if I'm sitting here in frame S, looking at this tennis ball, from my perspective, it's spinning around my y-axis with speed beta. That seems pretty intuitive to me, and it's a nice way to write my angular velocity. So I don't have any issues there. For the linear velocity, what I'd like to write is, okay, this thing's moving off to the right with speed alpha, so I'd like to write something like alpha 0, 0, because it's moving along my x-axis, and this would be a pretty intuitive expression for the linear velocity. The problem is, for the spatial twist, I'm looking at the linear velocity of a point at the origin of S. So I'm looking for the linear velocity of a point right here, which means there's a second component that's kind of like an imaginary velocity that comes from the cross product of a vector from S to the coordinate frame crossed with the angular velocity. So I'm going to get this imaginary velocity bracket p times omega s, or p cross omega s. That doesn't really make much sense. And I'd like to get rid of that so I can have a more clean and understandable Jacobian. So let me just remove it for now. And let's say I'm going to define a new twist v, again, a new twist v, as the angular velocity expressed in frame S, again, what we know makes sense, and then the linear velocity of a point at the origin of this coordinate frame expressed in frame S. So this gives me a very clean understanding of these two terms. I've still got the exact same angular velocity as I had before, and now my linear velocity is just, okay, I look at the object, I see it's moving off to the right, I write it in my coordinate frame, and that's it. So maybe just take a second, pause the video, and see if you can find the twist for this specific system. Probably pretty easy if you followed along before, because I'm just taking the exact same angular velocity, 0, beta, 0. And then for my linear velocity, I only need to worry about, hey, it's moving off to the right at speed alpha, so alpha 0, 0. This would be a nice twist to find for my Jacobian because it's something that I can work with and understand pretty intuitively. So that's going to be my goal. I want to derive a Jacobian matrix that's going to give me this type of twist. In order to make that happen, I need to come up with a mapping that takes in one of these spatial twists, the unintuitive thing, and then maps it to this new twist V, which makes more sense. And I'm actually going to use the adjoint matrix, a property we introduced in our last lecture. So over here on the right, I've got my spatial twist. You can look at this and see that this is the definition we have for a spatial twist. On the left, I've got my twist V, and again, this is the definition I have for my twist V. And the only difference between the two, they've got the exact same omega s on the top. The only difference is on the bottom, are these last three elements for my linear velocity, where for my new twist, I've just got p dot, whereas for this one, I've got p dot plus some other stuff. So I'm going to design an adjoint matrix that when you do this matrix multiplication, it removes this term. So when you multiply this adjoint times the spatial twist, you get rid of this unintuitive term and you're left with just p dot. Let me spell out the elements of this adjoint matrix. So again, this will be a 6 by 6. Adjoints here are going to be 6 by 6 matrices. On the diagonal, I just have identity. So it's going to be ones along the diagonal of the matrix. On the top right, I've got all zeros. This is a 3 by 3 matrix of zeros. And then the bottom left, I've got a 3 by 3 matrix. This is the bracket 3 operator of bracket p. And as I'll mention later on, this p is going to come from your forward kinematics. It's the position of this coordinate frame that you're interested in. Okay, so this is the way I can convert from this unintuitive twist into the more intuitive twist v. Now I want to put all these steps together in order to find an equation for the Jacobian of a serial robot arm. So I'm going to start off with what I know. So let's stick with the two-link example for a second, and then we'll generalize. So for this two-link example, in the previous lecture, we found equation number 1. And then based on our recent discussion, I want to add this equation number 2. And this is going to convert me from this spatial twist into the more intuitive twist v using the adjoint I just described. Well, if I just combine equation 1 and equation 2, I can come up with equation 3. And this would be a great example of a Jacobian matrix, because on my right side, I've got my joint velocity. On my left side, I've got this twist that I originally wanted to get. I now have the linear and angular velocity of the end effector in a way I can understand. So what's underlined in orange here? Well, that's going to be your Jacobian matrix. All right, so that works for a two-link robot arm. And we can actually extend this process pretty straightforwardly to get for it to work for a robot with n links, where n, again, that's the number of joints you have for your robot. So this will be the general equation that you can use for the Jacobian of one of these serial robot arms. Now, I want to focus a little bit on the right side here. So for this term, each of these is going to be a column. So S1 is going to be your first column. The adjoint times S2 will be your second column, and then this adjoint times S3 will be your third column, and so on. You might notice a little pattern emerging here. So for first column, it's just the S1. Then I've got the adjoint of all the links up to link 2 multiplied by S2. Then the adjoint of all the links up to S3 times S3. And that's exactly the pattern we have, and that's going to continue. So for the ith column, you'll get the adjoint of the motion caused by every joint up to that joint. So it'll be from I to I minus 1, and then you multiply that entire adjoint by Si. As a reminder for dimensions, each of these screws is going to be a 6 by 1 vector. It's telling you the axis of motion for that joint specifically. And then this adjoint is going to be a 6 by 6. So again, you'll get a 6 by 1 vector. That'll be another column for this term right here. And then you multiply that whole matrix by this 6 by 6 adjoint over here. And that's exactly what we discussed in the previous slides. So you can use this equation to find the Jacobian for your serial robot arm. And it's just a little reminder of each of the steps you're going to want to take to find this Jacobian. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you want to get your screws S1 through Sn. So you need to find your screws. You're also going to need to find your position P. And to get that, you'll probably want to find your forward kinematics. So you can get this transformation matrix T of theta, because this position P, which is again, it's a vector from the frame S to this frame of interest, the body frame you're looking at, that's going to change as your system moves around. So you need to get this position P probably as a function of your joint position theta. So something like your forward kinematics would be a good first step here. I'd point out that since you're already finding your screws for your forward kinematics, you can just use them again for your Jacobian. So kind of all the things you needed to find the forward kinematics, you just directly apply them again, and now you have your Jacobian. You don't really need to find anything else after you get your forward kinematics. So if you take those screws and this position P that again comes from your forward kinematics matrix, you can now evaluate this equation for the Jacobian. Great. And just to double check you've got the right thing, make sure your Jacobian is a 6 by n matrix. N is the number of joints. And again, we want to have 6 because we're looking at the angular and linear velocity of the robot's end effector. All right, so that's the process that I would recommend for finding a robot's Jacobian. Again, I want to re-mention that, look, you actually know all these steps already when you find the forward kinematics. So it's not really any new work per se. It's just taking what you already know from your forward kinematics and applying it within the equations we just mentioned, and you can now have your Jacobian matrix. So to practice some of these concepts, you might want to check the practice set. You can find it in the description or the pinned comment. Reminder, the first page is the problems, and then the following pages have the solutions. Once you've done those, I encourage you to move on to the next lecture, in which we'll also practice together and we'll try to find the Jacobian with some examples. So I'll see you then.